Elizabeth Taylor died of heart failure today at 79, and every generation of Americans knew her and followed her turbulent life.
In 1964, Elizabeth Taylor sat down for what she thought would be routine interviews with journalist Richard Meryman. For 40 hours, she poured out secrets that could have destroyed careers, ended marriages, and exposed Hollywood's darkest truths. She spoke about violent abuse behind closed doors, the true reasons for her scandalous affairs, and the crushing price of fame. Then the recordings vanished. For 60 years, they collected dust in a forgotten attic, their secrets buried with time. When they were finally discovered in 2022 by Meryman's family after his death, what Taylor confessed in her own voice left everyone who heard it absolutely stunned. This wasn't the polished, publicist-approved Elizabeth Taylor the world knew. This was a broken, vulnerable woman speaking her truth without filters. These tapes would rewrite everything we thought we knew about Hollywood's most famous star. This is her story, in her own words. But before we reveal what Taylor confessed, make sure you're subscribed to Vintage Vault with notifications on. Because the secrets we uncover about old Hollywood legends will blow your mind. We're about to expose the real Elizabeth Taylor. And it's nothing like what you'd expect. Elizabeth Rosamond Taylor wasn't born into Hollywood royalty. She was manufactured by it. Born in London in 1932, she was discovered at just 9 years old when her family moved to Los Angeles. Her striking violet eyes and natural beauty immediately caught the attention of MGM scouts, and she was thrust into an industry that would consume her entire life. By age 12, she was already MGM's prized possession, earning more money than most adults. But this wasn't the fairy tale it appeared to be. The studio controlled everything: what she ate, who she dated, even how she walked. MGM put her on strict diets, forced her to wear braces, and wanted to dye her hair and change her name to Virginia. They required her to adhere to a rigid daily schedule: school in the morning, filming during the day, and dancing and singing classes at night. Her childhood was systematically erased, replaced by the demands of stardom. As Taylor later revealed in those secret recordings, "My childhood ended the moment I became a star. I was 12 years old, making more money than my father, and suddenly everyone wanted to control me. I became a product, not a person." But Elizabeth Taylor had a rebellious streak that would define her entire career. When she was just 14, during a contract renegotiation, studio mogul Louis B. Mayer tried to intimidate her. He was known for his explosive temper and had reduced grown men to tears. But when Mayer began yelling and threatening her, Taylor's response shocked everyone in the room. She looked him dead in the eye and said, "You and your studio can go straight to hell." The room fell silent. A 14-year-old girl had just told the most powerful man in Hollywood to go to hell, and lived to tell about it. That was Elizabeth Taylor, fearless, defiant, and completely unpredictable. It was this same defiance that would later drive her to make choices that scandalized the world. Her breakthrough role in National Velvet made her a global star at age 12, but it also trapped her in a gilded cage. The film was a massive success, earning millions and cementing her status as Hollywood's new golden child. But with fame came isolation. She couldn't go to regular school, couldn't have normal friendships, and couldn't date without studio approval. Every aspect of her life was choreographed for maximum publicity value. By 18, she was desperate for independence and love. When hotel heir Conrad Nicky Hilton Jr. proposed, it seemed like her fairy tale ending. The wedding was a media circus. with hundreds of photographers and reporters covering every detail. The ceremony at the Bel Air Country Club was dubbed the Wedding of the Century. Taylor wore a $3,500 gown and received over $1 million worth of wedding gifts. But this fairy tale marriage would become her first nightmare. What the public didn't know was that behind the glamorous photos and magazine spreads, Taylor's first marriage was falling apart from day one. Hilton, 23 years old and heir to a hotel fortune, had a dark side that he'd successfully hidden from the press. During their European honeymoon, the mask came off. Taylor later described the horror in her 1987 memoir. The honeymoon in Europe lasted 2 weeks. I should say the marriage lasted for 2 weeks. Then came disillusionment, rude and brutal. Hilton began drinking heavily on their wedding night and never stopped. He was physically and mentally abusive, controlling, and openly unfaithful. According to Taylor's later testimony in divorce court, he was indifferent to me and used abusive language. But the abuse went far beyond emotional cruelty. In the secret recordings, Taylor revealed the devastating truth. Nicky hit me. He would get drunk and become violent. During one of his attacks, I was pregnant, and I lost the baby. He caused me to miscarry, and I've carried that pain my entire life. And the physical abuse was so severe that Taylor was often covered in bruises, which the studio covered up with heavy makeup and carefully angled photographs. She became a prisoner in her own marriage, isolated from friends and family, by a husband who controlled her every move. After 8 months of hell, Taylor finally found the courage to leave. The divorce made headlines worldwide, but the real story of abuse remained largely hidden. Taylor testified in court that Hilton had been cruel and abusive, but the graphic details were kept private to protect both their reputations. She refused any alimony, wanting nothing more than her freedom and her original name back. Then came Michael Wilding, 20 years older, sophisticated, and seemingly the opposite of Hilton. Wilding was a distinguished British actor who represented stability and maturity. Their 1952 wedding was quieter than her first, but the age gap and different life goals soon created problems. They had 2 children together, but the marriage lacked passion. As Taylor confessed in the secret tapes, Michael was kind, but we were more like friends than lovers. I was young and needed excitement, adventure. Michael wanted a quiet domestic life, and I felt like I was suffocating. The pattern was set. Elizabeth Taylor, the world's most beautiful woman, seemed destined for heartbreak. But it wasn't until 1958 that Taylor would commit the act that would make her the most scandalous woman in America. Her best friend, Debbie Reynolds, was married to singer Eddie Fisher, until Taylor decided she wanted him for herself. The Eddie Fisher affair wasn't just adultery, it was betrayal on a massive scale. Reynolds and Fisher were America's sweethearts, married in 1955 and considered the perfect Hollywood couple. They had 2 young children, including baby Carrie Fisher, who would later become famous as Princess Leia. Fisher was one of the most popular singers in America, with 17 songs reaching the top 10 charts. The betrayal began when Taylor's third husband, producer Mike Todd, was killed in a plane crash in March 1958. Taylor was devastated, barely able to function. In an act of friendship, Debbie Reynolds sent her husband Eddie to comfort the grieving widow. What happened next would destroy one of Hollywood's most beloved marriages. Fisher and Todd had been best friends, and Fisher genuinely wanted to help Taylor through her grief. But as days turned to weeks, comfort turned to attraction, and attraction became an affair. Within a month of Todd's death, Fisher had separated from Reynolds to be with Taylor exclusively. The scandal erupted when photographers caught Fisher leaving Taylor's home early one morning. America was outraged. Fan mail turned to hate mail. Death threats poured in. Taylor was branded a homewrecker, a husband stealer, the woman who destroyed America's sweetheart. The press coverage was relentless and vicious. Headlines screamed, "Liz steals Debbie's husband," and "The woman who destroyed America's family." Religious leaders denounced her from pulpits across the country. Women's groups organized boycotts of her films. For the first time in her career, Elizabeth Taylor was truly hated by the American public. But what Taylor revealed in those secret 1964 recordings would change everything we thought we knew about the scandal. She confessed that she never truly loved Eddie Fisher. She was simply desperate for emotional support after losing the love of her life, Mike Todd. In her own words, she admitted, "I was looking for an emotional crutch. Eddie was Mike's best friend. And when I talked to him about Mike, it felt like Mike was still alive somehow. But I never loved Eddie. I liked him. I felt sorry for him. But he was not Mike. I made a terrible mistake, and I didn't know how to get out of it once the whole world was watching." The marriage to Fisher, which took place just hours after his divorce from Reynolds was finalized, was doomed from the start. Taylor knew it was wrong, but felt trapped by the media circus surrounding their relationship. Fisher, for his part, was completely infatuated with Taylor and convinced himself that their shared grief over Todd's death meant they were destined to be together. For decades, these confessions remained buried. The journalist who recorded them, Richard Meryman, was a respected writer who had interviewed many Hollywood legends. He stored the tapes in his attic and never fully released them, perhaps understanding that their explosive content could destroy reputations and lives. When he died decades later, his family discovered boxes of audio that would rewrite Hollywood history. 40 hours of Elizabeth Taylor speaking candidly about her life, her loves, her fears, and her regrets. No publicist coaching her responses. No script to follow. No studio executives deciding what could and couldn't be said. Just the real Elizabeth Taylor, finally telling her truth. In these recordings, Taylor revealed something that shocked everyone who knew her. Despite being called the most beautiful woman in the world, despite gracing magazine covers, and being desired by millions of men, she confessed, "I never thought I was beautiful. When people talked about my looks, I always felt like a fraud. I'd look in the mirror and see all my flaws, my double chin, my thick eyebrows, my short legs. I never understood what people saw in me. I always felt like I was fooling everyone." This vulnerability, this insecurity from a woman who seemed to have everything, revealed the human being behind the Hollywood goddess. The pressure of being constantly judged on her appearance, of having her every flaw magnified by camera lenses and gossip columns, had taken a psychological toll that few could imagine. But the Eddie Fisher scandal was nothing compared to what came next. In 1962, on the set of the most expensive movie ever made at the time, Taylor would begin the most publicized love affairs of the 20th century. She was cast as Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, in a film that would cost over $40 million and nearly bankrupt 20th Century Fox. The production was plagued with problems. Taylor nearly died from pneumonia. The script was constantly being rewritten, and the budget spiraled out of control. Then Richard Burton arrived on set to play Mark Antony. He was Welsh, married, and completely unprepared for what was about to hit him. Burton was known in Hollywood as a womanizer who had affairs on every film set, but always returned to his patient wife, Sybil. He was also known for his legendary drinking. He could consume 3 bottles of vodka a day and still deliver his lines perfectly. When Burton first met Taylor, he was unimpressed. His opening line to her was, "You're much too fat, love, but you do have a pretty little face." Taylor was insulted and complained to her husband, Eddie Fisher, about the rude Welshman. But then something changed. Their affair would scandalize the world, prompt condemnation from the Vatican itself, and create a media frenzy that wouldn't be matched until the modern era of social media. But what happened behind the cameras was even more shocking than what the public saw. The relationship was passionate but violent, loving but destructive. And in those secret recordings, Taylor revealed the dark truth about their legendary romance. The physical fights, the psychological manipulation, and the price she paid for becoming the most famous woman on earth. The Vatican called it erotic vagrancy. The U.S. Congress wanted to ban them from the country. Their affair nearly destroyed 2 marriages and created the modern concept of celebrity scandal. Religious leaders around the world denounced them as symbols of moral decay. Politicians used them as examples of Hollywood's corrupting influence on American values. But what Taylor confessed about Richard Burton in those tapes, about their violent fights, their destructive love, and the hidden truth about their relationship, will leave you speechless. In the next part of our 2-part series, we're revealing the most shocking confessions from Elizabeth Taylor's secret recordings. The truth about Richard Burton's violent behavior, her hidden financial struggles, and the dark secrets that Hollywood tried to bury forever. You'll hear how their love affair became a dangerous obsession that nearly destroyed both of them. Make sure you're subscribed to Vintage Vault and hit that notification bell, because part 2 of Elizabeth Taylor's secret confessions drops soon. And trust me, you won't want to miss what she revealed about the most scandalous love affair in Hollywood history. We uncover the secrets that old Hollywood's biggest stars tried to take to their graves. From Marilyn Monroe's hidden diary to Frank Sinatra's mob connections, Vintage Vault exposes the truth behind the glamour. Click that subscribe button now, and I'll see you soon for the explosive conclusion of Elizabeth Taylor's secret confessions. The secrets she revealed will change everything you thought you knew about Hollywood's golden age.